Hello and welcome. My name is Faye, and we are already in July, which is kind of crazy. I've been downloading these themes for the last few days, and I'm not going to lie, it's been a little bit challenging to find that midway point as I am feeling a really sort of inward and individual journey this month that is not necessarily linear. So, walking through the timeline and receiving this information, my intention is to find those themes and bring through those themes for you that feel really solid, where almost like we're reading from the seed point of view, and the way in which this manifests in your life is going to be different depending on your level of consciousness, but also what it is that you're working through right now. So when we're looking at a spiritual path and we're looking at a holistic being, mentally, emotionally, physically, and energetically, we know that part of our initiation process is to overcome these beautiful challenges that come into our life by cleaning up our soul and bringing our spirit into the body and living really consciously in the present moment, creating in co-creation as we go. Yet some of this can feel really tough at times, and I do feel like there's almost a slight resistance to the intensity. That's the best way that I can possibly describe this right now, as there hasn't been a lot of downtime to go into deep states of procrastination or reflection. And I do feel like we're going to have moments of these arise, but they're less sort of planned pit stops. It will be a very physiological response, and the invitation is to really honor that when it arrives, even if it means changing around your plans that you had for that day, just to drop in and allow right now, because we are in a process of creating space to stop and pause and go within. When you're feeling the intensity, come to that place where you need a moment of reflection, meditation, just allowing, not forcing, not needing to understand every little piece. It's really this practice of surrender this month, so as that we can bring into harmony the vibrancy and the energy that's needed in order to action as we go, without feeling burnt out or overwhelmed or undermined by our own internal experience. So it's a great month to be surrendering out the ego as we wake up in the morning by utilizing those beautiful commands. I surrender my ego to my higher self's will in every way, connecting into your beautiful heart and creating that state of being before you go about your day. I got sort of 3 or 4 themes that I really want to have a look at today. They're larger themes, hence why we're not going to do 5 sort of smaller ones today. There are some extra little bonus pieces that I want to bring through for you. But we're going to start this by looking at the relationship sector of July, as this is a really huge theme. And now, sometimes it can feel like as soon as I approach a topic like relationships, all of a sudden we start to apply that almost immediately to our romantic relationships. But this is for you if you are not in a romantic relationship. This is in regards to friends and family, social experiences, but also our relationship to our own inner being. And this is where the testing and the challenging is coming in this month, because what we're looking at with relationships is the image of I don't know if you saw Narnia, but it's like the old cupboard is what they're showing me. And right in the backs of the cupboard, we've got a couple of little boxes and perhaps even little baskets where the lid's already part open. It feels like they're going into these sort of very, very back corners of the cupboard, the things that we are in our subconscious that are ready to come to light. Some of this can be actually really uncomfortable because we're looking at the sort of darker sides of our own nature, things that we may feel embarrassed about, ashamed about, these sort of emotions that are in reaction to approaching some of these themes that are inevitable to arise at this time, are some of those more sort of gritty emotions that can be quite overwhelming, that we very quickly choose to ignore, choose to put to the side. We're looking at some of those emotions that feel really uncomfortable within the body and the being, that kind of feel a bit like retraction. Oh, I don't really want to be seen in this. And the invitation is really beautiful here because it's inevitable that they arise. It's a really beautiful opportunity to love these aspects and understand the root cause as to why these are presenting themselves in the first place. There's a couple of different ways in which I can see these manifesting right now. We're looking at strange themes like jealousy, selfishness. I'm going to go into spaces like secrecy, enemy patterning, karmic ties or karmic bonds, loops with past relationships that keep coming back up into the surface, and you haven't been able to find that little thread as to why it is it keeps appearing in your mind, or why it is that it keeps affecting your body and your being moving forward. And so it's these real sort of deep, deep, deep layers that cause these uncomfortable feelings and experiences internally that we very quickly to kind of like shut off or poke the head in back in the turtle shell. And we don't have a shell to poke our heads back into in regards to these pieces at the moment. And so as lovingly and compassionately as you can approach some of these shadier aspects of your being, not to say that these all manifest as jealousy or like revenge, it's more of an invitation to bridge these emotions that come on really, really strong, and where we're choosing to kind of check out in that moment, to actually go into them with this deep, deep, deep sense of curiosity and begin to ask yourself why the arousal in the body, the arousal of anger or the arousal of frustration or the arousal of shame or the arousal, the response within your body as an arousal, how that has actually been serving you. And we could look at something like jealousy, which is a very uncomfortable emotion to experience, and one that I believe that we can rid from our body and being, as an invitation to look at what it is that we desire to have within our life, or where we would like a little bit more confidence. It's all information and feedback from the system. And going into this with a sense of curiosity and kindness helps us understand our innate nature and what it is that is showing us in a kind of more less than love way as to what it is we truly desire within our being. Some of these things like secrecy as well, these more uncomfortable parts, things that we might have kept in the closet 10, 15 years ago. These can be like news coming out around like affairs and things happening, or lying to somebody, or it's sort of these things that we think, oh, don't worry, I'll just deal with that later in life, or no one will ever know about this, it doesn't even matter. These are the spaces and places of the body and the being that I'm feeling are being prodded right now. Hence this kind of feeling to be like, oh, this is really uncomfortable, I don't want to go there. The beauty with these is, and the invitation was with this, is to present these emotions as the arousal. So the arousal that happens in response to some of these pieces when they come in up into your conscious awareness, whether that be in a direct experience or when you're moving through your day, is to inquire as to the arousal, not as a negative thing, the arousal of shame, the arousal of secrecy, the arousal of selfishness, the arousal of jealousy, the arousal of these things that may happen in the very private parts of your being, is to inquire and ask how this is connected to desire and what the root cause of this desire is. And so I feel like some of these things like jealousy per se, it's not even a nice word to say out aloud. If this is something that's coming up, you're in a relationship and you're noticing you're jealous when your partner has conversations with people from his past, or has conversations with somebody else, or seems to pay somebody different kind of attention to what they give to you, or looks at someone in a different way that he may look at you. And there is a desire arousing here that is not just a feeling of like self-consciousness or jealousy. It's like, how is this actually serving you? What is the arousal as desire giving you as a permission or an invitation of inquiry to bring some of these more shadowy aspects of your being to light, so as that you can work with these and almost cancel out this response to that experience, to bring more light into this experience, but also to get more curious as to how, if a mirror was placed in front of you in this experience, what it is that it's showing you. And so desire is a very interesting word to connect with some of these more uncomfortable parts of our being. Yet it's really important, as it helps us acknowledge that this is serving you somehow. And so this is not something at the moment, as I said, it's like the shell's been taken away from the turtle's back, and it can feel really exposed, it can feel really open, it can feel really vulnerable. And so it's not about forcing yourself through this to have all of the answers, but really to go about it as a sense of curiosity as to why this sensation, feeling, response to these particular experiences or things from your past keep coming back up, and how it is that is serving you. And with that, you have an invitation to process this information and bring more light and love and conscious awareness into this. Doesn't mean it instantly disappears, but it means that when you are put in those positions or situations in life, as you are walking through, co-creating with life as you go, in those moments, you are creating consciousness so as that your reaction to that experience can be different to the one before. And so when we're looking at things like secrecy, and we've got to understand the nature of this, that it is stored within our body and our being. And the parts of us that are secret are still alive and still hidden, and they can kind of feel like we try to place them in the abandoned part of our being. Yet it's really, really important that we bring this to light, bring this to awareness, bring this to truth. So there's a really big invitation here if you need to have conversations with family members, with partners, with colleagues, with bosses. There is this really beautiful invitation to speak from this very open and kind of like protected or unfiltered space right now, where closure can happen within the body, and there can be a deeper sense of safety by bringing the skeletons out of the closet, or by bringing light to these sort of more unconscious desires or these unconscious arousals that happen within the body and the being, by keeping these things pushed down and locked down. There is an invitation for almost like what they're saying, like a kundalini rising at this point. So like an energy that lifts from the bottom of the spine to the top of the head, more light coming through the body and the being to it's Kundalini breathwork would be a really beautiful practice to support this process right now. Kundalini yoga, Kundalini. I really do feel like there's going to be some emphasis on this. This can really strengthen our spiritual gifts. It can push energy up and into the third eye to help expand your inner vision, to see the truth more clearly, but to connect you to that really beautiful cosmic alignment that we have right now, where there is a lot of information and light coming into all of those places that we are being invited to purge, whether willingly or unwillingly. I do feel like there is a hand. I can almost see like the angels reaching out and being like, come on, you can do this now. And so this can take on this can be a sort of like an essence of bravery really coming through right now to heal some of these karmic connections and ties. If we lie to somebody, there is repercussions to that within our own system. The energy knows, the person standing in front of you knows that an untruth has been told or that a truth hasn't been spoken. And it severs our ability to be able to deeply connect. And so this is a really, really lovely invitation. There are other words that I could bring into this, not just secrecy and jealousy. I wrote down things like stalking. I know that's a really strong word, but if you're kind of like spending your time online and you're going into the back ends and looking at people without conversing with them, it's sort of like, why is this serving you? What sort of information is this providing to your system? Is this benefiting you? Is this benefiting other? It's sort of like stepping out of the shadows and into the light. And if you're curious about someone or there's a connection in your field, it's an invitation to actually follow through with that. Use your voice. Come into the world of reality and truth by exiting out of fantasy and letting light into those spaces of our body and our being that have kind of been locked away and tucked away as though it's something that doesn't really matter, or I'll deal with that later. And so if this is not directly affecting you, it may be that there are others within your field that are going to need your support right now. I do feel like these words around like infidelity, or like if there has been like a relationship breakup, that there's like information that starts to come through which helps you conceptualize your gut feeling to leave the relationship in the first place. That you might have had a feeling or a sensation with your job or your work that it's just finished and it's over and you quit, and then afterwards there might have been like an aftermath of like, oh, I'm not good enough, why did I do that? My decision, I can't see the light in this experience, the next thing hasn't come through yet, because we need to bring these energies up to the surface. But it might be that you find out some news from that role or that job that really helps you affirm or confirm your intuitive decision to resign in the first place, that helps you have a better look into the future with that light, with that trust, and moving forward with a little bit more authenticity and integrity. A need for speed was another thing that I looked at. Need for speed almost as in like this really sort of like I feel like there is an element of discipline that needs to come into our healing practices with this, but this is not something to be rushed through. So watch where you feel like, okay, this is arisen. Now I just need to like quickly rush my way through this so that I don't have to feel it. This is a felt experience. This is a whole body experience. This is something that needs to be purged out of the body. It needs to be felt emotionally. It needs to be acknowledged logically, and it needs to be applied kind of physically. The soul is so on the surface right now of in communication with our bodies and our beings to direct us to this beautiful space where, regardless of the challenges that come in, vulnerability is something that is embraced and supported, whether it be happening to you or to somebody else, that we do this from a very non-judgmental place, and that we can strengthen these relationships that are important to you, this one with yourself, and also this one with your guides, this one with your higher self, this one with your family and your friends, and the people you choose, your soul tribe, the people you choose to spend your time with, that you can feel like the whole of you is a part of that experience, and that those people whom you're spending your time with are not looking at you or judging you from a place that is almost affirming these things that are in the closet behind. And if that is your reality, then there's an invitation to start looking within, because we're having lots of experiences with mirror theory right now, which is a beautiful thing, but also a very uncomfortable thing. So great to ask yourself questions like, how is this serving me? What is this teaching me? And then again, inquiring the root of your desire in regards to this arousal. This can also bring up things within like sexual energy exchange and intimacy, almost those things that like fantasy, so those bridges to fantasy, acknowledging why it is that your arousal or that you feel guided into these spaces and places. Look at things like, what am I controlling right now, and why is it that I desire to lose control, or why is it that I like losing control but I feel very controlling. They're almost these like sort of polarized experiences with how we're living our life, but then in the darkness, in the closet, I can express this part of me, and there is nothing wrong with that, but doing so consciously can help us bring to the surface how these and not all of them, but the ones that are sort of perceived in a more shameful experience, how is it serving you? What is the desire in that space? Let's get the narrative up to the surface so as that you can approach that consciously with light and with love, if that's the path in which you're going down, and that beautiful exploration of your own sexuality. But let's not keep it in the land of fantasy. Let's not have this just be something that is feeding the mind. Let's have this as a full body, loving experience that, can manifest in whatever way, shape or form in which you desire. I do feel like this brings in relationships and like rewriting some of the contracts that we may have with the people within our life as to, I'm going to say like placing down more boundaries of self-respect, respect for the person in which you are committed to, if that's the case in your relationship. If you're dating, that if you get those signals, that you are listening to them and responding to them, but then also inquiring, why is it that this keeps coming up in my life? How is this still serving me? These are really, really important and beautiful questions. It's like that thing that you speak about, may the truth on the inside be the same as the truth on the outside. And so our voice really wants to follow through with this, beginning to speak from that heart space, not from the head space, beginning to speak from our light, not from, that energy that is in the closet, stuck in those little bags of or boxes where the lid's been tightened really tight, is that we can feel that and sense that anyway when we're communicating and talking with somebody. And so in order to bring those open, it doesn't only serve you, it serves the people around you, and it does allow for deeper intimacy within your relationships if our boundaries are really beautiful and clear. If we have these conversations and we're bringing in conscious awareness as to how we are showing up, what it is that we desire, it helps us co-create from a space of love and not from a space where we're moving into those unconscious parts of ourselves and repeating patterns and cycles from the past. And so some of these might have been themes that kind of just felt like irrelevant, like, oh, don't worry, in time I'll kind of master this. This is the opportunity to really bring this to light, to really bring this into your conscious awareness and care with a sense of curiosity and kindness, in a pace that is slow enough for your system, that can be a holistic experience, and so as that you can really shift from one vibration into another. to open up the closet and kind of bear all to yourself, bear all to the world in some sense, with safety and accountability in regards to your own vulnerability. I did sort of say something, and I like this. They've drawn a little picture, they channeled through me. I drew it down, bridging the gap between fantasy and reality. I really, really like that, because sometimes all we've got to do is acknowledge the fantasy and understand what it is that we are desiring within our reality. And then it's not something that we have to go out of our body in order to experience. It means that we have an option to create that or speak that or ask for that within the relationship, or with the relationship with self. But it makes it feel, it's much more easeful to be within the present moment and to acknowledge this, to set your intentions for those things that are fantasy, make them into reality if that's what you desire, or start to pop the fantasies, because they're just things or bridges or times in space in which we're exiting out of the present moment and spending time over here because it's too uncomfortable to be here, or it's not possible to have that in here, or it's not part of our commitment in order to have that within our relationship, or whatever it is. So we're kind of rewriting some stories here, as well as looking at karmic bonds. Karmic bonds is something interesting. It's almost like people that travel through you through different lifetimes, where there are direct lessons and learning to help you digest, process, release some of these karmic ties that you have with people that keep showing up in your life, or the same character that keeps showing up in your life. There's ample opportunity now. I do apologize about my camera. It's automatic focus. It's almost like we have this opportunity right now to sever these ties completely and start to do things really differently, especially if you're in a position where you're calling in a partnership or a relationship and you're really clear about what that is, but the same kind of character keeps coming into your life. This is the best opportunity you've got this year in order to have a look at why, in reference to mirror theory and to the bits that have been hidden in regards to the desire, or how that connection is actually still serving you, can really come to light. The moment we acknowledge this, it's like we start popping these bubbles of illusion. The clouds kind of pass by and we can see really clearly. It's really important to be able to see our energy, to work with things like clairvoyance at this time, to strengthen our own inner confirmation, as not all of this will make necessary logical sense. We are looking not just from this life, but potentially multiple lives, if you've had this invitation or initiation to really do the work on your soul, which most of you here would have. And so this feeling of going back through time right now, or having memories arise, but you're in a space and a place where it sort of seems more like Viking times, or you're in a place where it looks like a completely different planet, or you might not even be human, you might be an animal, or it's to acknowledge the kind of kookiness of how this can present itself. Stories and metaphors are utilized to be able to express our past lives and how they are coming through into this present moment in order to be healed as well. So this can be a very multi-dimensional experience, where these outer pockets of your matrix are bringing in this awareness into your present moment in order to create wholeness with that life and do the healing from this part here. So we do have this experience of going backwards in order to move forward right now. This isn't about controlling anything. The more we can flow this month, the better. This is a little tiddly bit that I wanted to bring in before we move on to the next theme. But there's this feeling of really not being able to control this. And in the same way that the shell is removed, it's like, okay, it's here. I just got to do this now. This is a beautiful opportunity, because the light is ready to come into these spaces and places. And I can do this, and I'm ready for an up level. Let's go, go, go in the most beautiful way. There's this feeling of not controlling this experience. So it's actually like when you're in the present moment and you're flowing, the more you can flow now, and the less you attach to the weird and wonderful ways and the ways in which this is manifesting in your life, the more easeful you would journey through this. So anything that brings flow into your body and your being, that might be literally a yoga flow practice. It might be that you're journaling to get all the thoughts out of your head to create space. It may be that you are less tied to commitments and plans at this point in time. But what they do say with this, that it is really important to set an intention to acknowledge a couple of or a few of your priorities this month. So having those priorities, say it is taking care of my physical body. I want to be exercising 3 times a week. Another priority of mine is that I meditate for half an hour before I go to work. Another priority of mine is that I catch up with my family once a fortnight. These are priorities that help us anchor and create a little bit of routine and ritual throughout the week or the days, depending on how much of this you feel like you need. And the rest of it is kind of just flowing and allowing it to come as it is. In regards to this reading, I sat up a couple of times to do it and I was like, it's just not the time. And I would like it to be. There was a bit of irritation and frustration that arose in that, but it was like, don't worry, the moment will come, and we have to be able to trust this and not force or try to control right now. We're working much more deeply with spirit than we probably ever have before. And so their influence is pretty palpable, and there is this opportunity to trust them very deeply, stay very connected to those priorities of yours in which you can intentfully or intuitively create or receive. But it's also really important not to latch on or attach. Your body is very naturally and organically going to take you through this process, but really nice to allow, even in those moments of rest and contemplation and procrastination, that it might not be something that you pencil in. It might be something that arises and you actually have to message your friend and say, I'm sorry, I can't do coffee today. I really need to be with what it is that's come up for me. So where are we being distracted by? Our inner body and being is another pocket of awareness, because these distractions need to go. It's a big washout right now. Backwards in order to move forward. And so that feeling and sensation or connection to time can feel really odd. And if it's a moment for you to just be pausing and not focusing on all of your, there's sort of big mission statement things, it's actually okay. And it's a really lovely place and time to be going within. Let me just make sure that I haven't missed anything in regards to relationships. Other than karmic bonds, they looked at karmic ties as well. So probably going to be super highly aware, if you are very sensitive, of cords, hooks, and attachments. You may be part of somebody else's story. And if you feel that sensation of them hooking in, it's about bringing in the tools that you do have, or asking for some more tools to support you with attachment, where your energy is being siphoned from, where you are potentially leaking energy from other, where you're giving your power away in these experiences as well. So it's kind of a time to put yourself first, not with that aggressive selfishness, but to prioritize your soul's work right now. What's the payoff of that? Is the Kundalini rising energy. And I'm not going to educate you about that. It's not my mastery. I do believe that that's something that we experience. There are a multitude of different words that can come into that. If you want to do your own research, please do. But those practices like Karma Yoga and Kundalini breathwork and Kundalini yoga, acknowledging that golden tube, through the center of the body, breathing from the top of your head to your root, from your root to the top of your head, drawing energy upward after an experience of a big purge, is going to be a lovely way to relate to this experience, so that it doesn't just feel like you're in a washing machine being thrown left to right. You're actually there and you're acknowledging, okay, I'm being cleansed and cleared right now. Okay, it's time to hang out and let some sun and some light to my body and my being, so that you're with yourself within this journey. So watch where you may be abandoning yourself as well at this time, and how the potentiality of abandonment is something that causes a sense of arousal in your body and being. And it might be that you just desire not to take any responsibility. And there's no judgment here. It's going about that with a sense of curiosity. Okay. I laughed when they gave me this theme. And look, this is something we work on a lot. They called it moaning, like, or moaning. We got to watch where we're whinging at the moment. We are so fast to program our reality that if we are stuck in loops of complaining and moaning and whinging, whether that be out aloud or internally, it has to stop. It has to stop. It is a distraction, it's a distortion, and it is an opportunity to start to rewire your mind, to start moving into some more gratitude and some self-responsibility. You have the opportunity to moan to the beauty and the deliciousness of your own life, even when it's challenging. Moaning is in the delicious sensations, the sounds that you make within your body and being, because it's just bliss. And it can be bliss even when it's challenging. There can be ecstasy even when it's challenging. Love is everywhere. It is who you are. And so the invitation is to move your moaning into moaning. And maybe you can bring in like a little practice around this. If you find yourself whinging, maybe you actually just start making beautiful vocal sounds that get you back into your body. but it's really important to reaffirm what it is that you would desire. Come back to gratitude. Okay, cool. I'm whinging that, I don't know, I forgot to take the rubbish out. Okay, well, you could whinge about that all day if you would like to, or you can go, okay, well, great. How lucky am I that the truck is coming next week? I'm really grateful that I don't have to drive burn my rubbish every week. I'm really, it's like the small little things, and these small little things are big leaps when we start to compile these all together. This also kind of stems to this relationship between the heart and the mind. We can look at this from the body and the soul, the mind and the body and the soul, the spirit and the mind. But the mind is a huge part of this process of awakening. It can't really be ignored. It does need training. We can't just dismiss this. If it is taking control of your life when you're not happy with what it is that's going on and the way in which your life is manifesting, then we need to work here. Like, we really, really do. And it's constant. It's not something that we just practice for a year and be done with it. Things change and evolve. We become different versions of ourselves. And then there's this invitation to work with that version of ourselves within our mind. And so there is a higher mind and a lower mind. I don't need to educate you about all of that. But it's really important right now that you're really honest with yourself as to how this is assisting with what it is that you are experiencing. And no more excuses, no more distractions. It's time to show up and do the work. If you are spending more time moaning and whinging and complaining about your life than you are moaning to the beautiful bliss and beauty of your experience and your existence, it is you that is responsible. And it feels like a lot of responsibility if we don't have the tools and the resources. Reach out if you need some support with this. But in regards to this connection between the heart and the head, this is everything. It's picture that like the Kundalini energy, that rising energy that comes up from the spine all the way to the top of the head. Focus on this point between here and here. How is your heart communicating with your mind? How is your mind communicating with your heart? There is this invitation as well, and it's interesting that they draw this line here, but this was very much a focus and a clear out. I've seen this physically, emotionally, and energetically happening for people, a clear out of the throat chakra. This can be manifesting at the moment as like raspy feelings, actually like swollen glands. It can be that you've had a cough, you're getting something off your chest. We're looking at this space in between in order to level up and begin to speak our truth. So this is the purging and the clearing out, where that first theme within relationships, we can start to see this, where there is an opportunity to get off your chest what it is you need to get off your chest, to bring those things out of the cupboard that other know are there. It's just this courage to acknowledge them, to speak your truth. Even if you're going back 5 years, 10 years from now, these things reside within your body. So it's time to bring these up and out. Throat chakra upgrade. This is an amazing opportunity to be speaking more from your heart, even if it is uncomfortable. There is reward in this. It can be the small and simple things that when you have an interaction with someone, you just feel really deeply present and connected with them, that you feel their heart, that there is safety in speaking your truth. It's endless, but it's a really, really beautiful opportunity to strengthen this relationship between the heart and the head. The byproduct of that is that the heart is going to be communicating more than the head is communicating more. So we're coming more into the body and the being, living more from that heart-centered place. Beautiful just to have some awareness here if you have been sore in this place. They said that you could pick a song to sing along to, pick the same song. You could do this intuitively, put your Spotify on and ask for a song that is for your highest good to help you clear and cleanse out your throat chakra so that you can begin speaking more from your heart, from your enlightened heart. Put it on shuffle, see what comes through, sing this, move into this. The song that I got for you all when I was listening to this was by Live, that lightning crashes, that the story and the experience of the mother dying and the baby being born, this kind of real raw, deep expression of birth, death, rebirth, life. It had a lot of energy, and I felt like it could almost be utilized as like a meditation, a moving meditation, a moaning meditation. But lyrics and sound are going to be something that is really supportive in regards to supporting the cleansing and clearing out of this, but to help you begin to exercise that vibration that moves from your heart and out of your throat versus your head and out of your mouth. These are not connections that the soul desires. These are connections that the soul desires. This is where we speak our truth. We create a beautiful, loving reality. Let me check. There were so many like scattered little messages today. I do apologize again about the focus. There were lots of little scattered sort of messages today in regards to this. So please just bear with me as I am referring a little bit more to what's on the sheet as to stay focused with these priorities. So I like this in regards to the song. You can dance with this as well. Singing, chanting, anything that uses your throat chakra at the moment is all very supportive of this. Oh, they did bring in like a stormy kind of energy in regards to that. I felt some sort of really earthquakey energy in the first week of July. Whether this moves through, it can feel still like a rumbling beneath the feet, like this, like the storm coming through. I felt like those clouds of illusion kind of coming through, and then the rain coming in to wash everything out, and then the sun kind of peering its head as we come into August. I actually feel like July is going to be a huge month of clearing out, and it might be almost into the second week of August that we're experiencing this. So check clairvoyantly or utilize your imagination, or whatever word it is you want to use for your inner sense and your lens here. Check what's going on with the storm in order to have more discernment within your body, or the weather, like use simple metaphors in order to have a bit of an understanding so that you can work with yourself in this experience. If you can see that there's a big cloud there, honor that. It's not about forcing or pushing it away or trying to play God by blowing away the clouds. It's sometimes just about allowing this to kind of naturally pass. Moaning is very much about the gratitude, the bliss, the having quietness within your mind. So you're listening to the way in which your body communicates physiologically. We're going to be aware of the parts of our body that we have abandoned. And that sounds really strange, but it can be like, they were showing me like small patches on elbows, the bits that get really dry, the bottoms of your feet, the in between your toes, the backs of your ears, these sort of places where we might be like, oh, my skin's really dry, I'm going to moisturize my face and my arms, and then the whole rest of your body gets ignored. It's like those things that we have been being ignored are also very physically going to present themselves right now. Information feels like something that can be presenting itself as well. But they're not, we don't have to look so far. It's more just an awareness thing. Which parts of my body, my being have I been abandoning, and what can I do to support that? What can I do to bring this even just in a really like gentle physical practice, by rubbing oil from the top of your head to the tips of your toes instead of just on your hands or your feet. It's like the fullness of the body, hence this Kundalini energy that wants to rise from the very base all the way to the top of the head. There is really beautiful opportunity for deep connection within your relationships once you present and acknowledge these, I'm going to say these like strange and shady aspects of desire. I do feel like intimacy, self-pleasure, if you're relating with someone, you have lovers, you are sexually engaging with someone, I feel like there's like things can be turned up there, sensations can be a lot stronger, and it can kind of feel like a beautiful opportunity again for curiosity. This has been something that's been coming up for the last few months. If you're still kind of on the edges of that, I don't know, buy yourself a new little outfit and see what happens. I do feel like it's fun, to be playful with all of this and to not take things so seriously right now. And the moment we feel that tension in the face and the fists start to clench, there's this invitation to let go and relax your body physically where it's been tense in the same way. If you've been abandoning that like tight shoulder you've had for 6 months, it's time to address that. Go book the appointment, prioritize this. I do feel like these sorts of things with our self-practice and taking care of ourselves, if you know you need X, Y, Z, but you're like, oh, but I just can't do it right now, these things need to start to become a priority. The abundance will come in. The invitation to work with abundance will come with that. Hence that thing with the mind. I love how this all ends up sort of looping together. We're going to finish off with this beautiful theme around mystery and mastery and finding balance with that. There is much of our future which is feeling quite unknown, yet there is also this opportunity to bridge that unknown by softening the fear and coming into a place where we embrace the mystery of life with a light-hearted, curious, uncontrollable bliss. They show me this as like kayakers, the kayakers, there's a bit of work to do to get the kayak on the water, and you might pick a time and a day, we don't pick, the day comes to us, the winds are right, it presents itself, and we have an opportunity or a choice. Am I going to participate in this today, this thing that I really love, or am I just going to sit it out and watch Netflix for the rest of the day? You have a choice and a choosing. Oh, I feel a bit tired. These things can be energizing. Watching where the mind is influencing the beautiful mystery and majesty of your existence. As the kayakers go, you know, the winds might change. There can be some like, oh yeah, I'm on this, but they're kind of flowing with the motion. There are moments where they're going against the tide, and then they turn around, they might arrive somewhere and enjoy a different destination. But it's the joy of the journey in the mystery of that. We don't know what's beneath the surface or where it is that we're kayaking to unless we're doing the same thing over and over again. Are you exploring new territory, or are you revisiting the same place? We can see that right now where we're exercising the same paths within our mind and already knowing the outcome to that experience, so it's boring enough that we just escape. So it's a beautiful time too to start to get curious as to where potentially you can turn right where you've always been turning left. There were some different things that came in regards to this. I wrote this one down yesterday, so I'm just going to have a little quick squiz. Beautiful time for past life regression, inner child work, because we are kind of looping back through the past to be in the present in order to create this beautiful future. These things coming from, you know, behind. If you are diving into sort of different types of healing work, a beautiful opportunity to work with your inner child, to work with your past lives, to participate soul retrieval, past life regression, family dynamics, ancestral work, the land and its history. There's beautiful insight from the trees, the wisdom, the things that have been here long-standing way before we were here, their wisdom to connect in with some of that as a means of support, as a means of healing. It feels really beautiful and powerful right now to have some of these experiences, especially in the support of somewhere else where you can just kind of surrender and allow for that help to come through. Akashic record readings, I don't do those. There are people that do. I feel like if you're in that business or in that service work, or that is something that you've been curious about, it'd be a really nice avenue to go down right now. I think there's lots of insight there. It can also be a place where we get that like information from the very back part of the closet that's just like one phrase of information that can alter and change your whole life. So we're working with moving into a little bit more freedom by practicing this sense of flow. Imagine yourself in that kayak. How is it that you are responding and moving? Are you feeling really tense and tight? Are you just wanting to go home? Are you here? Are you enjoying it? What's the weather doing around you? How do you respond to the weather when it presents itself to you? I know this is sort of metaphorically speaking. This can be applied to multiple different areas of your life. Are you paddling upstream? Are you going, with it? Are you there by yourself? Are you with other people? Who do you desire to be there with? Where would you like to be driving your kayak to? How are you relating to the water? How are you speaking to Mother Earth? Are you whinging about the weather all the time? Are you embracing the beautiful cold or the super hot sunny days and allowing that to bring about your creativity or an opportunity to go for a swim? It's perception is so important. We have such opportunity to be experiencing really, really deep, powerful, transformative states that change and alter the rest of our life at the moment. It is always that way. We're always moving through, but sometimes there are particular things that are stronger where we have this beautiful opportunity to transform on a very deep level. And this is the soul work this month with compassion and kindness and care. Okay, again, thank you, as this video is a little bit late this month. I will be back for August. I am very much going to say keeping myself busy with the House of Mystics, but I do have space for readings as well. I have only opened my books on a Wednesday and a Thursday. If you are overseas or you desire a different time, there is still some flexibility with me there, but you're better off just to send me an email and ask for that, or contact me directly through Instagram at Your Heart's Path. All of your comments, your likes, your subscriptions are very much appreciated on here. I know there's about 40-45 of you that continuously show up every month. I only know a handful of you, so say hello. I know that you don't always get the option to do that if you haven't signed in and you've come straight through Instagram, but a little goes a long way, and I really appreciate your support in that space. Give it a share on Instagram if you've received something from this that you really like. And I will see you next month. Send you heaps and heaps of love, lots of kindness, lots of compassion, and I'll see you then. Okay, bye.